and welcome. This is going to be a divine partnership coaching video, just a short one. I want to address the how do you know if someone is your twin flame or say a karmic, which there's many ways to describe it, which usually in my opinion a karmic is somebody who helps you learn to heal and get ready to meet your twin flame, and also just even outside of the twin flame journey, like any sort of relationship that you have that does not work out, where you go through cycles of toxicity with others, is meant to heal you. That's my opinion of it. But specifically for the twin flame journey, a karmic relationship is meant to help you learn self-love, self-healing, self-reliance, and to get out of codependent habits, to stop blaming yourself for older wounds and relationships and throughout childhood. And a twin flame partnership is also intended to do the same thing. Usually the difference is if you're with a karmic, it's either like if you were with your twin before, it's because you had not learned the right lessons and been healing with them. So Spirit says, okay, we're going to stick you with somebody else, and actually use karma to show you how you have been with your twin and give you contrast so that you can tell the difference now between your twin and a karmic, and why it is that you would choose them over anybody else, because we're all human. We're all going to have pros and cons to who we are and certain levels of compatibility, but sometimes when we're stuck in very deep uh, trauma cycles, I was say shame cycles, but trauma cycles in general, it's difficult to even be with our twin, even if they are fully healed, which doesn't happen often. We usually pretty in time with our twins, even if the timing seems off. Like there's a reason for that, to have us be lined up in just such a way that when one of us is healing and takes a step forward, it pulls the other one with us. And then when we are in need of having a step pulled forward, they do the same thing. But it can be difficult to tell the difference. Well, I shouldn't say that. If you really want to know the difference, look into learning about the difference between limerence and healthy love. There's a lot out there about it, and that can help you really identify, like, am I really in love with this person, or is it just limerence? Is it kind of just the idea of love? Like it's more like being in love with love itself in not necessarily a healthy way. Like it's great to be in love with love, but to be in love with like that extreme feeling that you get, the honeymoon thing going on all the time, that's not healthy. But in my experience, especially with coaching others, it's been, what I've noticed is that if, like, let's say you get into some sort of a fight or a negative interaction with your twin, or they're ghosting you or not talking to you, what I would say is, what do you do at that point? What happens to you? Does it spin you out? Does it make you angry? Do you get sad about it? And if you look at, oh, there's so many ways to explain it, and I really want to keep this video short. What I'm going to say is, your choice for you and for them, whoever, whether the person you're thinking of is your twin or a karmic, etc. Your choice when faced with somebody who triggers you, anybody triggering you, romantic partner, parent, child, best friend, frenemy, whoever, when they trigger you, always choose healing. Always choose to look at how you're reflecting, which is, it helps to build empathy too, but do it without being codependent, which easier said than done if you're still in the swings of that. But what I mean by that is, like, let's say my DM ghosts me, and with ADHD and a Gemini rising, sometimes it can feel like I'm being ghosted if I'm, well, I should also own, I still am healing at anxious attachment style too. So even going like 3 or 4 hours without talking can sometimes feel like ghosting. And it did a lot more before we had this separation. I'm much more comfortable with it now, and I really love that about myself, that I'm comfortable with that now. I don't feel as high pressured about it, and that shows me that I'm also not pressuring others, and that's good. And also, um, both my twin and I have challenges with feeling pressured, especially in social situations and romantic situations. So the more I heal that, the more I see him heal that. And that's what I mean though, is like no matter who you're interacting with, if you are always choosing the healing path and saying, how am I doing the same thing that this person who is triggering me doing? Because usually a trigger is actually a projection. We feel so emotional about whatever it is because we do it and we don't like that about ourselves, but we don't often connect the dots and see that. So if you look for that, but you do it in a way of like in a codependent way would be going, oh, well, I can't be mad at them because I do that myself and I'm not a perfect person. And so I'm not going to have healthy boundaries because they've had to put up with my crap in the past and I should just be more empathetic about it. No, that's it. You know, it seems like the kind thing to do, but it's actually not. It's not kind for you or them. It's nice, but it's not kind. And it won't help and it won't get you the validation that you want in that. Instead, if you look at it and go, okay, so if he's ghosting me or she's ghosting me and I'm feeling really triggered by that, what am what am I doing that's reflecting that? Am I ghosting somebody else? Do I have work that I need to get done? Do I have a bill that I need to pay? Am I spending enough time with my kids? You know, is there in some way that I'm doing this with somebody else, or did I do this with my twin? Or if there's no way that I can see that I'm ghosting anyone else, I might look at it and say, okay, so then the trigger is in the feeling of impatience. Why am I feeling impatient? I, I'm comfortable. I have, you know, the problems. I definitely the money is definitely a really big thing right now, and organization, especially with school back in session. Sort of, we have the distance computer learning for my kids' district, so there's a lot more hands-on and a lot more schedule organization that needs to happen. And like, am I feeling triggered about all the distractions? Am I feeling triggered that my twin's not playing along when everything else seems to be falling apart? Or am I triggered because I'm bored? Or, and you'd be amazed how triggered a person can get if they're bored and their usual source of interaction is not available. Like with my twin, it's been about 20 years since we've been doing this journey. Neither of us realized for a very long time that it even was a twin flame journey. And I only really even recognize it because I see a lot of what new twins are going through. And I've been working with new twins both in readings and coaching sessions. And it's like, oh, wow, okay. Like I thought we began it early on, but it actually has been going on a long time. But, you know, when we went through the initial 5 years, which really reflects a lot of new twins' current journeys, we were together for 15 years. And I mean, it was a union, but it was still kind of a pseudo union because he wasn't there emotionally. And I had a lot of things that I reflected in that. The one thing that I didn't was that I was all in for an unconditionally loving relationship and I wanted it to grow. I wanted us to glow up together, you know, but also be understanding of and totally accepting of of flaws and differences of opinions and things like that. But my twin was not in that place yet. And but you know, there when I look at, you know, how can I tell with mine and how can I, you know, how can others tell with theirs? When I go to heal and I don't do it, I'm not like, in the beginning it was hard not to go, oh, you know what, I just realized when I heal, he heals. So how many things can I heal and cause him to heal? But that's doing it to get him back or doing it to force something, to manipulate something, and it negates that most of the journey for most of us is learning self-love. And so I started practicing getting into the habit of doing it just for me. Like, oh, you know what? This is great. My twin is here reflecting what I can heal, and other people are around reflecting what I can heal. And the more I do that, the better I feel, the more secure I feel, the more abundance and success I experience, the better my relationships with everyone gets. That's really great. I love it for that. And as a bonus, it also, I see the healing in my twin, which is I'm still working on being pithy. This almost should have been in the beginning of the video, but for dramatic effect, that's how you can usually tell if somebody is your twin flame versus your karmic. You reflect everybody. You know, like if you run into a stranger down the street and they trigger you in some way, you're reflecting them still. There's some way that you triggered them, and probably didn't intend to, just like they probably didn't intend to with you. But it was spirit lining you up with somebody who could help you heal whatever the thing is that you were triggered about, even if it's just being triggered so darn much. But obviously, you could tell they aren't a twin because you don't run into them ever again. Or if you do, it's very, very sparse and there's no other interaction. So there's an easy indicator, right? Um, but with a karmic, you might often end up in a romantic relationship with them, and they can basically act as a false flame. Like you probably have loving feelings for them to a degree. It's probably more limerence if you really look into the geeky, nerdy psychology, statistical end of it, but it feels in the beginning at least like it is love, and you may have even had some sort of past connection with them in this lifetime, in other lifetimes, or they might remind you of like your twin. It could be displacement, especially if it's like a rebound relationship. But it can be difficult sometimes, especially if they're very much like your twin, to see the difference, or if you don't know if you've met your twin, or in those moments when you've spent months and you know that it's your twin, but things aren't moving, or you're still focused on time, or you were pretty sure that it was going to happen and then it didn't, union, and then or you start feeling called to maybe interact with others, and you're like, is this really my twin flame? Maybe I had it wrong. But therein is the key, though. Like, I often tell people that if somebody is your twin or is your karmic is actually kind of irrelevant, which is, I know it's a very air sign unemotional thing to say, but it kind of is. Like, if somebody is a karmic and they're not meant to be, they're not your twin flame, you're not meant to grow with them. You're meant to grow because of your interactions with them, especially in any toxic cycles. Then they're actually helping you get ready for the person that you are meant to have this union with. And likewise, you're helping the karmic get ready for who they're meant to be with. So it's not just like you're not just using them, and you probably didn't even if you were using them and didn't know it because of a trauma cycle, it's not it's spirit set it up. Usually, in my opinion, because both of you recently had asked for genuine healing, usually in a fleeting and very emotional moment, because emotions they're like the rocket fuel to manifestations. So, like, you gave a lot of oomph to a big prayer and ask for genuine healing, and a lot of times that can require taking us back, and well, as like kind of breaking you first, breaking you to heal you. Um, so many thoughts in that, because there's been a lot of those experiences in life in general. So when you start to do that healing, though, you will notice certain people in your life that will be kind of on that same timeline with you, and they may even surprise you, especially once you start to work on healing for your own benefit, and it's just kind of gravy on top that those around you are also healing. Could be friends from your soul tribe, it could be your twin, it could be your kids, but seeing that healing happen because you're raising your vibration, you start to notice who is healing along with you and who is kind of still in a different dimension. And your twin will be the best way I can say it is look for synchronicities. Look for the ways that they behave when you interact with them. If you're in a no contact situation, you can't know anyways. You might as well work on your own stuff, and why not assume that they're doing it? If you're right, they'll meet you on the path ahead, and they'll probably seem like a very different person, just like you. It'll seem very different to them. Um, I'm gonna have to do more in terms of how to look for the reflection, but really only you can know. It's unfortunately a very theory of mind kind of thing. Like, I can offer a ton of confirmations, none of them are ever going to be enough on their own. They're not going to be all of them, and there will be contributions later to and from others about how to recognize it. So, I mean, you can do your research, you can listen to videos on YouTube or podcasts or talk to other people, and each experience is probably going to be more individual. So, you just have to ask yourself if you know, but you can kind of affirm what you already know in looking at how people reflect. Like, if you're with a karmic and you're learning emotional mm, security, which is like not being so offended by certain things. You're trying to learn to be calmer, have good boundaries, things like that. When you're doing that, you'll notice that they are not learning that with you. And it doesn't always have to be immediate. Like usually you have interactions with these people for a long amount of time, so it's more than just once. And they won't grow with you. They'll often stay in that victim mindset, sort of that covert narcissism area, or maybe even you'll see some grandiose narcissism in there. Either way, they tend to stay in their toxic cycles no matter how much you grow. And even that sometimes can get mixed in a little bit with an actual twin. It really depends on mm, I was gonna say it depends on their childhood, but really I think it depends on the amazing and resourceful imagination of spirit, because if you're meant to heal something very profound, you'd be much more likely to have a twin and a dynamic with them that is really, really, I want to say for some it starts out really dark and deep, and then for others it could just be contrasting. If you've typically gone for high morality and like goodness and things like that, you might actually have a twin who comes very deeply from the dark and chose that for a long time. And it could be that that helps you work with others to heal that same sort of thing. So there's really, unfortunately, there's no playbook. Hence why some of these videos are not easy to do. But I figured there's value in just getting out what is known at the moment for those that are still processing their own journey. In any case, just to summarize, yes, I think that the best way to tell if are they a twin or are they a karmic is are they reflecting you, or are they staying where they were pretty much all the time. Even if they sometimes show a little bit of difference, they typically keep going back in there, and there's no synchronicities in there to match up with what's going on or anything like that. But either way, whether the person is karmic or a twin, spirit is bringing them to your attention and into your life for a reason, and it's usually for healing. So look for that. And as you heal yourself, you will see more and more signs as to whether somebody is karmic or a twin flame. And I want to say that the great thing, but also kind of feels like a curse sometimes, is that spirit will keep lining you up with this person if they are effective in triggering you, because then you will choose more and more who you are. So you're going to be lined up with them anyways. Focus on your healing. Don't worry so much about whether they're your twin or not, because trust me, you're going to spend a lot of time thinking about that anyways. Keep reframing your focus onto who you want to be, whether you're in or out of a relationship, and who and what your core values are, what your standards are, who you want to be in life, how you want to help the world, what sort of things you want to do for fun before you're not in this lifetime anymore. Just keep focusing on you, and let everyone and everything else be the gravy on top or the sprinkles on top, and not the meat and bones. The meat and bones of your journey should be self-love, and you are worth pursuing this journey just for you. And as you do it, you become more and more lovable and adorable anyways, and you're not going to have to worry about being lonely or abandoned or unsupported. And so if the person that you're constantly thinking about or interacting with, or the several people, if one of them is a twin and one of them is karmic, or multiple of them are karmics, the more you heal, the more you will see what to do, you know. And definitely work on healthy boundaries. I think I've done several videos and here that you could check out, but there's plenty all over YouTube about how to understand and have healthy boundaries with others that are, and how to deal with that feeling of feeling like a jerk when you put them up, especially with someone who's karmic and isn't aware of how to be respectful of those boundaries, or they are aware and they don't care. All right, I'm going to end this here. So thank you for watching. Thank you for your likes, shares, and subscribes. And your feedback is always welcome in the comments below. And as are questions, because then I can help others out by making more videos. So see you in the next video.